Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, my Karen wife can't come to terms with the fact that we will never be rich. My wife, who's 33 female, and I, 32 male, met in college. She was in a marketing program and I was in computer science. She ended up not finishing her degree, but got a fairly good starting job in the field anyway because her friend's dad hired her for his business. While she got her job through nepotism, I do know that she is talented and good at it. I finished my degree. We don't live in a high-dollar area for careers and have stayed because it's close to her family. She started out at about $35,000 a year and I started out at $65,000 a year. Flash forward to now, she's making $50K a year and I'm making $100K. It still doesn't feel like we are doing all that well. Sure, the bills are always paid and we can eat at the occasional nice restaurant, but we were barely able to afford a lower middle-class house. We can't afford to go on jet-setting exotic vacations. We don't live paycheck to paycheck, but the money just doesn't ever go as far as you would think it does. The thing is, I'm happy. I grew up dirt poor, and my parents were always stressed. My wife and I never are. We have a nice, albeit modest, house. We can afford our small hobbies and comforts. We can go on vacations within the continental US. We just can't really afford to go to Hawaii or the Caribbean. We aren't rich, but we have it so much better than so many people. I feel truly thankful and content. She, on the other hand, has fallen deeper and deeper into depression, and it's always the same thing she talks about. She wants a new car. She wants a hugely expensive renovation to the house that we don't actually need. The house was updated when we bought it. She wants to go shopping for whatever specific brand of clothes or makeup. She wants a 2-week vacation in Maui or Paris. She recently just keeps talking about how she's not where she thought she'd be at this point in life. She goes on and on about it. She compares us to our friends and how good they have it. The thing is, those friends she's comparing us to are people who come from generational wealth. They have it good because their parents handed it to them. She can't seem to come to terms with just how good we truly have it. All she can see is what we don't have. The most frustrating thing is that a lot of our financial situation, that again, I'm comfortable with, is held back by her. She's making about as much money as she can in her field without a degree. I'm making twice what she is now, and I'm not done moving up the ladder. I've tried over and over again to get her to go back to school, but she just won't. At this point, it might not even matter. Her credits are so old, I don't even know if they would count anymore, and she'd probably have to start over. On top of that, she makes comments like, "I thought when I married a software engineer that I wouldn't have to work anymore." Basically alluding to the fact that I'm not making enough to fit her lifestyle. I love her, but I'm so tired. I'm tired of coming home from a busy day at work, thinking that I'll finally get to relax and decompress, only to hear her constant negativity about money. I've talked with her so many times over the years, and in so many ways, but I just can't get through to her. We tried couples counseling, but it did nothing. I've begged her to do personal counseling, but she's not interested. I'm at the very end of my rope, and I'll take any advice you can give. At this point, I almost want to tell her to divorce me already so she can find a 50-year-old divorcee to be her sugar daddy. What can I do to help her accept our lot in life? Or is it time that I stop wasting energy and let her go? $150,000 is a good income for a 2-person household. She has to be realistic. If she wants to prioritize travel, something else has to give. If she wants nicer clothes and products, she can forget about expensive travel, etc. Don't accuse my brother of stealing and don't discuss the situation with him again? Okay, I can do that. This story took place many years ago. I was in my late teens. One of my older brothers had moved out of the house a while back and moved in with a girlfriend who had a kid around age 7. I'll call my brother Bobby, not his real name. His girlfriend Mama Bear, and her kid will be Kiddo. As a late December baby, I would get my Christmas gift and be told it's also my birthday gift, then just get something really small on my birthday. Gee, thanks. So most years, I didn't get as good gifts as my siblings got, but I never complained. But this one year, I was given a Sony Walkman. Yeah, it was that long ago. Then a couple of days later from my birthday, I got a battery charger with rechargeable batteries. It was actually fair for once, because the Walkman and charger together were probably worth the same as each of my siblings got for Christmas and birthday put together. But Bobby got really jealous and would complain to me that it wasn't fair. He was constantly on my case about it. I told him it was for both gifts and to just lay off, but he remained angry. Eventually he stopped, but I didn't realize just how jealous he was, or that he was holding a grudge. Fast forward a few months. My Walkman is missing. My room is always a mess, so I assume that I misplaced it, but I can't find it. I get scared that I've lost it somewhere outside the house, so it's gone forever. Then I notice my battery charger is also missing, and I remember how jealous Bobby was. He still came to the house every other day, so next time he's over, I ask him if he took it. He hotly denies it, telling me that I probably just lost it. Since the charger's missing too, I know that's not the case. The other siblings couldn't have it in the house without me knowing. Plus, he's the only one that acted jealous. The next couple of times Bobby comes over, I go to him again, but he still denies it. I can tell that he's lying. We yell and we argue. My mom gets sick of it. She tells me to stop accusing Bobby of stealing my Walkman. I protest that I know he took it. She tells me not to speak with him about it again. So now I'm really annoyed. Not long after that, at a family dinner, Bobby brings Mama Bear and Kiddo. The other siblings are all around. All I can think is Bobby stole my Walkman, but I'm not allowed to accuse Bobby of stealing my Walkman or to speak to him about it. So I turn to Kiddo, and in a happy, excited voice I ask, "Hey Kiddo, did Bobby get a new Walkman?" Kiddo's face lights up. She smiles. She's super excited. "Oh yes, he did." And then she trails off and her face drops and she looks guilty. And you can just tell that she's done something that she wasn't supposed to do. The whole family heard this. My mom told Bobby to give it back. He begrudgingly did. The funny thing? He didn't give back the charger, claimed he never took it. We argued more and he insisted he didn't have it. A while later, I found the charger. If the charger wasn't missing, I wouldn't have been so sure that he took it, and I probably would have backed off. So it seems messy room also paid off. One thing I want to add, I realized that I put Kiddo in a difficult position, but Bobby wouldn't dare mess with Kiddo because of Mama Bear. Aside from maybe telling her not to tell me that he got a new Walkman, since Mama Bear saw this all happen, she knew what was going on. They broke up not too long after that, and I have no idea why, or if this played any part in it. Am I the jerk for not allowing my maid of honor / sister's boyfriend to come to the wedding? I, 29 female, have told my sister and maid of honor, who's 20 female, that her boyfriend is not allowed to come to my wedding, and she's furious. Because I told her no, she has responded by not coming to my bachelorette or bridal party, and she's not been active at all in the wedding process. She thinks that I'm being unfair and a jerk, as other people are bringing partners that have been together for a shorter time than her and her boyfriend. My sister has been with her boyfriend for about 8 months. They've traveled together and basically lived together. She's sure that they're going to get married. The thing is, when they met, she was already engaged to her partner of 10 years, whom all of my family loved deeply. She met her new boyfriend at work. She was engaged and he was married. Essentially, they both had affairs and left their partners to be with each other. I've met this guy and I don't like him at all. 1, he's still married and in the process of divorcing his wife. We've all heard that before. 2, I had an honest conversation with him asking his intentions with my sister and why he ended it with his wife. His excuse was that his previous wife forced him into the relationship and he didn't know what love was until he met my sister, which sounds like immature, manipulative BS to me. 3, his values are completely different than my sister's, which I believe opposites attract, but on fundamental things that I know my sister feels passionately about, she seems to have made herself smaller and more agreeable with some crazy views. My sister is turning into someone no one in my family can recognize. However, I don't want to lose her if it means having to accept this guy into our family. Being isolated in a toxic relationship is a scary place to be, and I fear that if I don't invite him into the fold, she will follow him out the door. None of our family members outside the immediate know about her infidelity or even this new boyfriend. I don't want my wedding to be focused on the talk about what happened to my sister, but I really hate how she isn't supporting me, and she is one of my maids of honor, and I'm the first sibling to get married. My mom thinks I should invite him, and she's sympathetic towards my sister, even though she also does not support her recent actions. Am I the jerk if I don't allow my sister's boyfriend to come to the wedding? Or do I give in to her request and invite him? Edit. She's only asked me about his invitation after I sent out my table placement charts and catering count. I honestly never thought she would want him to come in the first place since our father does not want him there as well, and culture plays a big part in that. She hasn't told anyone about the guy except for the immediate family, parents and sisters, and she wants us to use this event as the opportunity to be his big reveal, if I haven't made that clear. Not the jerk, it's your wedding. But if I'm being frank, I wouldn't attend if my partner was being excluded. I, 38 male, think I need to eventually break up with my pregnant girlfriend, who's 41. Although we haven't been dating very long, 2 years, my girlfriend and I had always talked about the possibility of having kids. A few months ago, we were going through a rough patch and she found out she was pregnant. We talked about it and we were both optimistic that we could make things work, so we decided to keep the baby. Her age was also a big factor in this decision. In the weeks leading up to her moving into my place, the same issues started cropping up again. We get along most days, but have very different worldviews about finances, religion, cleanliness, friends, decor, etc. All of which has been exacerbated by living together. Although we have a lot of similar ideas about raising kids, the particulars about this coming kid has been the source of most of our current issues. For example, I had a strong idea about the name I preferred, but we eventually decided to name the kid after one of her grandparents. I genuinely liked the name, and I came up with a middle name that we both agreed on that would let me use the nickname I liked. But since then, she has been pushing hard for me to not use the nickname. Her issue is that the nickname is too common and ordinary, which I think is a strange issue to have. She's gotten genuinely upset over this nickname, and we've had multiple talks about it. Also, her mom asked to stay with us for a couple of weeks after the baby is born to help. After some hesitation, we saw the value in the offer and we agreed. I then asked if my mom could come for the couple weeks after her mom to do the same thing. We have a separate mother-in-law unit, so it's actually really convenient, and they would not be in the way. At this, she gave a hard no. She says that she doesn't want to risk snapping at my mom during an emotionally vulnerable time. These are just a couple of the many examples, but they all revolve around us making compromise and then her not letting my part of the compromise exist. I've talked to her about this dynamic multiple times, and though I've tried to be gracious, it's getting more and more difficult to not see the pattern as deliberately targeting any contribution I try to make. I'm tempted to chalk some of this up to pregnancy hormones, but since I've known her, I've watched her push away some of her closest friends and family, while at the same time blaming them instead of looking at her role in it. Although she can be kind and protective to people she considers in her inner circle, it doesn't take much to be cast out of that circle. I've come to see her as someone who likes to hold grudges and is not open to forgiveness, even over small issues. She would rather rage quit than deal with things. Her sister sent a pretty harsh text to her before their falling out, and as she read her sister's text to me out loud, I found myself agreeing with everything that was said. All of this to say that I feel like I'm questioning whether we can or should stay together. I'm genuinely excited to be a dad, but she got pregnant while we were still getting to know each other. And the more I'm learning, the more I don't think she's the right person for me. I'm open to therapy, but therapy feels like something you do when you want to fight for something. And besides sharing a kid, I'm not sure what else I would be fighting for. I'm not planning on making any big decisions until after the baby is born, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out if there's any way to salvage this, or if it would actually be better for the baby if we separate. If we did separate, is there any better time to do it, sooner or later? Should the baby be a couple years old first? Any advice is appreciated. 2 years is not early in the relationship, especially at your ages. It's not an issue that she wants her mom and not yours. Same thing happened with my wife and our daughters. Her mom came for a few weeks. Mine offered, but we turned her down because my wife was concerned about not being able to be herself with her in-law there, and that makes complete sense. Am I the jerk for having an issue with my boyfriend's family violating the boundaries of our apartment? I, female 24, recently moved in with my boyfriend, let's call him John, male 24. John is from India and had moved to the US for college and now work. We live in his apartment in New York City, but over the past few months since I moved in, I've noticed a weird issue. While John's family is based in India, several of his family members have shifted to New York City in the past couple of years for school, work, etc. About 5 of them live in the city. I'm unsure of his specific relationship to each one, but he treats them all like siblings, despite an age range of 18 to 32 between the 5 of them, with none of them being his real siblings. The problem began when I realized his family members just show up to the apartment whenever they feel like it. They all have keys, and they all come in and out throughout the week, sometimes randomly staying the night in the guest room, coming over to watch TV or make some food even when John and I are not home, etc. This was incredibly jarring for me, because it felt like there was no privacy left to be within the house when all these people could just come in, borrow things, use the apartment, and leave. It's not that they made a mess or broke things, but it was just them using our apartment as their own. Yesterday I had come over, and one of his younger sisters, who's around 19, was cooking something in the kitchen, and having had a long, tiring day, I just wanted to come home to a silent, quiet apartment to relax in. Upset at the noise and smell, I asked her why she thought she had the random right to come into our apartment whenever she felt like it and use whatever she wanted. She didn't reply, but looked extremely offended, and that really irked me. I asked her to get out of the house, and she did, muttering things under her breath at me in Hindi, a language I don't understand. That night, John came home and asked me why he'd been so mean to his sister and kicked her out of the house. I said I was sick and tired of them coming over, and from now on, they were not allowed in the house without letting us know beforehand. John said I was being a massive jerk to his family and disrespecting what they provide for us and his duty to provide for them. We haven't talked since, and he slept on the couch last night. I don't think I was in the wrong, but John is really upset, so am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but break up with him. This issue won't be resolved, and you have fundamentally different views on family boundaries. Better to walk away and find someone who isn't so enmeshed with their family. My girlfriend of 3 years is reluctant about having kids, and I definitely want at least 2. Right off the bat, I, 28 male, want kids, but even after 3 years of a relationship and 2 years living together, I'm not sure if my girlfriend, who's 27, wants kids, or if she really embraces this at all. I sometimes even get a feeling that she thinks it's expected of her to have kids. On the other hand, I'm looking forward to having a family in the next 5 years, and I'm struggling with the question of, am I wasting my time? I desperately need someone to talk to about this. The lack of a concrete answer from her part is stressing me out. I've always wanted kids. I like them, they like me, and I want to provide for and raise a little human being or two. I've always been the happiest around kids, of all ages, and I've somehow always known I was a family man. On the other hand, my girlfriend isn't entirely sure, and that's where this post stems from. We've talked several times about having kids, and every single time she gave the same answers. She likes kids, but wants to first make something out of her career. She thinks the kids will wreck her body. She would consider having kids in 5 years, when she's 32? And she isn't really into it, but everyone, her family and friends included, expect her to have kids, so she probably will. All the reasons sound completely fine, and I'm totally okay with everything, but the number of maybes, probablys, and likelies is what really throws me off. She always ends the discussion saying she'll likely have kids, but I have this awful gut feeling she's just saying that to reassure me, and I don't want to pressure her into it. It's her choice. It sounds to me like deep within her, she doesn't want to have any, yet she feels forced into having them because having kids is what most people do. I think that if I didn't want kids, she would gladly say, yeah, I'm fine not having them. The lack of enthusiasm about it is what's bothering me. And to make it clear, I don't want to have them now, but I am 28. Sometimes she gets a pregnancy scare. I always tell her it's fine and we'll figure it out, and that I, given our age, would actually consider keeping it under the right circumstances. On the other hand, she's absolutely terrified. Be honest, am I wasting my time, or is it way too early to be thinking about any of this? I'm this close to having a serious conversation with her about marriage and everything, and this is practically the only thing that's giving me second thoughts. Edit. I've read through most of the comments and messages, and the general consensus is that her maybe is actually a very close to a no. Exactly what I was afraid of. I will have another talk with her, preferably tonight, and pay very close attention to what she says. I'm going against the grain here, but only the last bullet point would make me question whether she genuinely wants to have kids. As for the other points, having kids is a scary experience as a woman. Your body is permanently changed. Kids are a lifelong commitment and expensive, so it's not absurd to want to be in a place where one can financially contribute to their upbringing and give their kids a good life. She's basically told you that she doesn't want kids. In a roundabout way forward, sure, but that comes from her knowing that this relationship will end if she tells you outright, and she doesn't want that. You can spend the next however many years together hoping she'll change her mind, but if she doesn't and finally gets around to being brutally honest with you, you both will have wasted those years together. She could change her mind, but you need to decide if this is something you're willing to chance. Do you really want a kid with someone who doesn't want to have them and is only having them to make you happy? What kind of mom is she going to be in that scenario? Karen bosses me around at work, so I made her cry. Okay, title sounds bad, but hear me out. So for context, I, 26 female, have been working at a corporate job for about a year. It's great, it pays really well, and I get along with pretty much everyone there. However, there's this one manager at work. Let's call her Leanne. She's around 40 and female. And most of us don't get on with her at all, as she's always humiliating people by talking down to us. For example, my coworker has a lisp, and last week when she asked him how far along he was with a project, he said it would still take a little while. She basically blew up at him, but half of the time when she was screaming at him, she was putting on a fake lisp to mock him. She'll always have a pile of work on her desk for other people to do because she needs to leave work to collect her kids from school when the father doesn't show up to collect them when it's his turn. Another thing is, she always expects us to stay on later than expected and coming in earlier, but we don't get paid for this time. That's just a few examples, because if I listed all of the things she does, it would be over the word limit. So today, I get told that I'm being promoted to a much higher position within the company. I'm excited about it as it pays better and will give me a lot more responsibility. The thing is, this position basically will make Leanne my subordinate. So I was telling a few coworkers about the promotion. We were just standing in the break room, laughing and chatting when she came in. She started going off on us about not working, saying things like, "Oh, I get it. You guys must think you're on vacation just because it's a nice day out, do you?" At one point she said, "If you people don't get your butts back to the office right now, I'm going to report it to higher management." The more she talked, the angrier I got, and when she finally finished berating us, I stood silently for a second and then just said something like, "I'll consider this being you reporting it to your higher management, as that's currently my position in the company." One of my coworkers snorted, and Leanne looked furious. Then I just told her that me and my coworkers were okay to be in the break room, as it was literally our break time, that it was pretty rich to tell us we couldn't take a coffee break when she herself would leave work regularly to pick up her kids because her ex-husband couldn't be bothered. I said that she wasn't to speak to any of us like that anymore, or I'd have her written up within the minute. She stood there for a whole minute, it felt like, and then she started tearing up. Then she left without a word. I felt horrible because I humiliated her in front of people she's managing and I made her cry. My coworkers are saying that she had it coming, but one of them thinks I went too far, bringing her kids into it. So, am I the jerk? If you don't want to spend time having to defend your behavior to HR, you need to learn quickly that you can't dress a subordinate down in public. Just because she used to do it doesn't make it right. Where I am, people can claim workers' compensation because managers humiliate them by giving them negative feedback in front of a crowd instead of in private. If she went on stress leave where I am, a claim could get up because of your behavior. Everyone sucks here. Entitled dog mom screams at my daughter for petting her dog. So I work as a secretary/receptionist at a small veterinary practice. By small, I mean that there are 2 vets, 3 nurses, and me. 6 employees total. One of the vets founded the practice 30 years ago, and her son is one of the nurses. Because it's so small, we really are like a family, and often get together at each other's houses for drinks and stuff. Because of this, we're also all pretty well acquainted with each other's families. The 2 youngest of the group are my daughter, Elori, who's 7, and one of the nurses, who's 35, male, his son, who's 8. They go to the same school and often carpool if needed. This summer, my daughter had summer camp in the morning, but nothing in the afternoon. Since my boyfriend and I both work until 5, me and 4, him, my boss said it was absolutely fine for Elori to hang out around the office until my boyfriend could come get her after he got off work. Most of the time, Elori either plays games on her phone, watches YouTube, or does some arts and crafts in the back office. From where I sit at the front desk, I can see her and her me, but clients cannot see her. Occasionally, my boss will offer for Elori to come help her with a very sweet and gentle pet. She will usually hold the pet and grab tools that the vet leaves on the counter for her. Always just normal checkups. Elori was just exiting the exam room to give one cat back to her owner when this entitled mom walked in with her yapping dog pulling at a leash. She takes one look at Elori handing someone a pet and immediately gets angry. "Where's the vet?" I tell her that my boss is prepping for her next appointment and that she can sit down and wait. "Where are your parents? You should not be in a medical area." She directs this question at Elori. Elori points to me, which directs her back in my direction. "Where are her parents?" she asks me. "I'm her mom." "You're a teenager." "Actually, I'm 21. Not that it's any of your business." At this point, her dog is absolutely losing it. He's barking, pulling at his leash, lunging towards Lori. She immediately becomes scared, even though this dog is like a beagle. She loves dogs, but also knows exactly when to stay out of a dog's radius of reach. However, like I said, the office is small. This dog is between me and the desk and Lori. She can either try to go around the dog to get to me, which clearly the dog will be able to get to her, or head back into the exam room, a route which also put her in the dog's path. As I realize this, I stand up to go get her, and she chooses to attempt to come to me at the desk, putting her in the dog's path. Predictably, the dog comes at her and gets one nip before I can throw myself between them. Ilori's sobbing. The owner is screaming that Ilori had touched her dog, and one of the nurses, the one who's a dad, comes out to figure out what the heck is going on. Without even asking, he immediately and firmly escorts entitled mom outside to defuse the situation. I take Ilori to the back office. Thankfully, she was fine. 10 or so minutes later, he comes back in without entitled mom. I ask him what happened, and he told me that entitled mom threatened to sue me for letting Ilori touch her dog. He reminded her that any dog unable to sit quietly was required to be in a crate, and after some choice words, she left. He also tells me that he will be covering the end of my shift and that I should get Ilori out of there and do what's best to calm her down. We got ice cream and watched Encanto. You can't perform Creep by Radiohead due to spirit of the song. Our institution of about 2,000 staff had yearly dinner and dance events. This was before lockdown, of course. This is an educational institution where most of us are either teachers or administrators. I am part of a small group of teachers and staff at this institution that formed our own staff rock band. We're usually given a 30-minute performance slot at previous dinner and dances, thus we were invited to perform again for the upcoming one. The theme for that year was superheroes. Our merry little band set out a full set list of songs, which included songs like Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, the Shrek soundtrack version. We threw in Creep by Radiohead because we wanted a song to slow the pace down midway through our set. All of us in the band are music lovers covering multiple genres and also coming from many different faiths and religions. None of us even considered that Creep would be an inappropriate song on stage. So now let me introduce the antagonist of this story. I'll call him Ash. He was the main staff coordinator for the entire dinner and dance event, a role that was bestowed on up-and-coming staff who show potential for leadership positions. Ash and his committee were the ones who came up with the superhero theme and would oversee everything for the event, including our little 30-minute performance. Before this event, none of us in the staff band knew Ash well. He was a bit of a loner, and as we would soon discover, he also takes his religion and values very seriously. So seriously that he had no qualms claiming jurisdiction over the whole event with his values as constitution. We had given the event committee our song set list 2 months before the event, after which we began rehearsing in earnest. No committee member said anything in those 2 months about our songs they wanted removed. At our last rehearsal before the event, Ash decided to drop into our rehearsal. Midway through our set, as we began to play Creep, he suddenly raised his hand to object and said, "Stop, stop, stop. I'm removing this song from your set list. You can't play this song." We were stunned. This was 2 days before the show, and we had sunk in tens of hours of rehearsal by this point. Why? We asked. "I read the lyrics of this song. The spirit of this song is offensive. It has the wrong values for an educational institution such as ours." We protested. Some of our band members were very religious themselves, and they saw no problem with the song, but he would not budge an inch. "You are not playing Creep on stage. I'm going to escalate this to the deputy principal." The band members were fuming at this point, regardless of religion, but the band leader made the call. Okay, we can't play this song on stage, right? Then we won't. And just to be sure, this is a superhero-themed event, right? And your committee is encouraging all attendees to come dressed as superheroes? Am I correct? "Yes," Ash replied, "and especially so for the performers. So we are expecting your band to come dressed up as superheroes to fit our theme." Cue malicious compliance. The day of the dinner and dance comes around, and over 1,000 colleagues showed up. Some dressed in Superman t-shirts, some as Wonder Woman, and even one in full Deadpool costumes. but none of them grabbed as much attention as one very tall, very leggy, very conspicuous Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon had on the tight-fit sailor uniform, slim waist, skirt, and the wig. It was none other than the band leader, who, by the way, is a 40-year-old male. Ash was livid, but as Sailor Moon was grabbing so much attention with so many folks clamoring to have photos taken with her, Ash did not want to spoil his own party by telling her to change. At one point, even the deputy principal grabbed a photo with Sailor Moon. The 30-minute performance was decent. Mistakes here and there, but none of us were professional, and the crowd enjoyed it anyway. Sailor Moon, who was the bassist, was headbanging and swinging her wig wildly to the finale, holding out for a hero, ensuring that everyone had their eyes on her. Naturally, there would be a Best Dressed segment, and it was clear from the start that Sailor Moon was going to be nominated and then destroy the competition. But Sailor Moon did something none of us expected. As the MC for the event asked her why she chose to come as Sailor Moon, and the entire event hall was riveted on her, curious to hear her answer, she did not answer, but instead started to sing. "But I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo. What the heck am I doing here? I don't belong here." The crowd cheered and applauded, but no other table at the event was as overjoyed as the staff band table, who understood the deeper meaning behind what the band leader just did. It's been a few years since the event, and we aren't sure if Ash got that promotion he was seeking. He was such a loner that nobody really saw him much, thus nobody talked about him either. The band leader, on the other hand, became a legend. He was once at a meeting where the folks across from him said that he looked very familiar, like they had seen him somewhere before. Then somebody suddenly burst out, "You're Sailor Moon! You're that Sailor Moon!" They didn't even know his name. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.